Have you ever imagined, dear viewers, that America could also make weak countries pay it, and not for providing them protection, but just to keep them politically balanced? 2 days ago, a strange incident occurred at the White House that may have gone unnoticed by many. An event that seems simple on the surface, but in reality it reveals the most dangerous shift in American policy in decades. A new shift that could change the balance of power in Central Asia and perhaps even in our Maghreb region, meaning between Morocco and Algeria. The story began exactly when Trump met with 5 presidents at once and ended with a shocking scene that no one expected at all. Okay? What exactly happened? This is what we will reveal today in this episode. Stay with us. Dear viewers, peace be upon you and God's mercy and blessings, and welcome to today's episode in this ongoing series of opinion episodes, God willing. 2 days ago, dear viewers, there was a strange event, an event that perhaps not everyone noticed, even though it was an event that clearly showed exactly the new American policy or the Trumpian policy. It shows exactly how America is thinking now. How could the same event possibly happen again? The same scenario, maybe in the Middle East, maybe in the Maghreb region between Morocco and Algeria. So today I will present to you a comprehensive analysis. This event shows how similar situations could occur between Morocco and Algeria, Turkey and Syria, or elsewhere in the Middle East. So about 2 days ago, President Trump hosted the leaders of 5 countries at the White House. All at once, he hosted the leaders of 5 Central Asian countries, all of them Turkic countries. We're talking about the presidents of Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, and Kyrgyzstan, 5 countries. This meeting, or this gathering, was part of what is called the 5+1 group, meaning the 5 Central Asian countries plus the United States. And this group was established about 10 years ago. But there were always meetings, within this framework. But previously the meetings were with the United States Secretary of State, and sometimes they were only with the Deputy Secretary of State. This is the first time. There is a meeting led by President Trump, to the extent that even Trump, he apologized in a strange way for neglecting these 5 countries. How is it possible that these countries are very important strategically, very important for implementing American plans? And in the end, America was only sending the Secretary of State. Sometimes they were just sending the Deputy Secretary of State. And this went on for many years. So what did Trump say here? He said that these countries are the heart of Eurasia. He said they have enormous potential. They are rich in rare natural resources. They are part of the Chinese Silk Road, and they have a great history. And yet, unfortunately, previous American presidents completely ignored them. That's what he said. He said that now America is correcting this mistake, it means that America now will pay a lot of attention to these countries. So this time, Trump gathered all the leaders of these countries and held this meeting with them. And it was attended by Trump's Deputy J. Defense and also by the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. But what happened in this meeting is strange, kind of strange. It will reveal to you the new Trump policy. How could the same scenario be repeated in other regions in the Maghreb or as well? So today, in fact, these countries are actually very important countries on the global chessboard. Through these countries, we find key international trade routes linking China and Europe across these countries. Through these countries as well, Russia is connected to China, Russia is connected to India, and Russia is connected to Iran and the Indian Ocean. If everyone remembers, Russia recently made strong moves in this region to prevent any upcoming catastrophic scenario. Like what? Provoking a war in the region? These are Russia's borders. I mean opening a new front against the Russians, or pushing these countries to blockade Russia economically, or anything like that. So Putin has recently made great efforts in this regard, and he has actually achieved significant successes. So this region is actually considered an area of Russian and Chinese influence. So it's very obvious to say today that America wants to compete with Russian and Chinese influence in this region, to separate the state from certain areas, to divide Russia from China on the western side. Therefore, when it was first announced that Trump would meet with the leaders of these countries together, many Russian newspapers sounded the alarm, saying that Trump would push these countries into geopolitical adventures that are dangerous for Russia. And here, pay close attention to a very important point that everyone should notice sometimes. The geographical location of any country, no matter what it is, imposes certain things on that country to be part of a certain bloc. So these countries actually have a strong desire to join this Western or American system, but their geographic location forces them at least to engage in a multi-directional diplomacy, meaning it forces them to be balanced countries, to maintain the interests of Russia and the interests of China. These countries know very well that there are strong interests in the region that bring together China, Russia, and Iran. So if these countries follow any approach that goes against these interests, especially to achieve American interests, it would be like committing suicide. This will cost them a lot, not only in terms of security or economy, but in other ways as well. These countries know that they are completely surrounded. By these three countries, I mean China, Russia, and Iran in this axis. And this is even when we talk, for example, about Morocco or Algeria. These countries cannot fully align themselves to serve Chinese or Russian interests against the West. Geographically, they are located deep within the West, on the edge of the European Union, overlooking America. So, the best political strategy is to maintain balance between East and West, or between Chinese, Russian, and American influence. That's why these 5 Turkic countries have, for years, pursued this approach, balancing Chinese and American interests to benefit from both without harming either side. But today, the strange thing that happened at this meeting in Trabzon is that they wanted to get American funding and investments in return. I mean, maybe they were telling Trump that they wouldn't side with China or Russia, they'd stay neutral. But they offered us investments, money, and other things. Strangely enough, they ended up being the ones giving money to America. And here, before anything else, I'd like to point out a very important thing. President Trump and the insults he made recently, I mean Zelensky, to some African leaders and so on. Today, it made all the leaders of the countries rush to praise and thank Trump only out of fear of any similar scenario, out of fear of any insult that might come from Trump. And live in front of the camera lens, these 5 leaders gave all the thanks and praise to Trump, even though they didn't benefit from Trump at all. I mean, nothing. As I will explain to you, we find there, for example, the president of Uzbekistan. He told Trump, "You are a great man. You are a man of peace. You are the one sent by heaven to restore traditions." He said that millions of people are grateful to you. And what's strange is that even though he is Muslim and religious, he says, "You are the one sent by heaven." The president of Uzbekistan also said almost the same thing. He told him, "You are the president of peace. You are the one who ended 8 wars," and so on. I mean, all of them praised and thanked Trump as if Trump had given them rewards, investments, and so on. But pay close attention. We find that these countries, even though they have very limited resources, are the ones who gave money to America. For example, Uzbekistan, for instance, has a gross domestic product that does not exceed 120 or about $115 billion annually, and its yearly budget does not exceed about $35 billion. Despite that, it promised Trump to give America $35 billion as investments. Over the next 3 years, $35 billion, meaning throughout Trump's presidential term. And more than that, it promised to provide $100 billion in investments in America in the coming years. It's strange, but how, for a country that is economically weak and in need of foreign investments today, it ends up being the one providing money and investments to a world superpower. We also find, for example, Kazakhstan as well. Despite all the thanks and praise that the leader of Kazakhstan gave to Trump, we see that it is backing out of agreements with Trump to buy American products worth $17 billion. There are countries like Turkmenistan and Tajikistan which are very weak. Tajikistan, for example, has a gross domestic product of only $14 billion. And yet, Yalti is now required to give money to America. During this meeting, Trump sold 50 Boeing planes to these three countries. 50 Boeing planes, meaning to these three countries, Turkey is one of the Central Asian countries. This is not to mention, there are agreements to extract rare natural resources, especially uranium. Almost. I mean, the same agreements America had with Ukraine were also with these 5 countries. So today, some people say that these Central Asian countries could have been smarter, like the European Union did, or like Saudi Arabia did, just like several other countries did. Some countries still haven't given Trump anything, other than promises. They gave him a small amount of money, and promises that exceed 3 years. I mean, they said, we will give you this amount, but after 3 years, meaning they are waiting for Trump to leave after 3 years. And these directions and agreements change again. So these countries, they offered thanks and praise. And they tried to use their relationship with America to elevate their political status and thus get money from America. But today, they are the ones giving money to America. So Trump changed all the concepts related to America. Trump started to impose a new economic model. Developing countries, once aid recipients, now provide money to America instead. So, the conclusion I want to share with you, dear viewers, is that these 5 countries were at a very dangerous crossroads. Either they move completely toward China and Russia and lose their sovereignty, or they choose neutrality and the game of international balance. But Trump knows this game. He knows what they want. Trump imposed conditions on them and put pressure on these countries. If you want to play the game of international balance, you have to pay. So pay close attention. Paying America is no longer just for protection, but even to achieve balance, you have to pay. America represents international legitimacy. Everyone should pay attention to that. If these countries didn't pay, there would have been many issues opened in this region against these countries. These are very serious pressures that Trump applied. Honestly, because it was a gamble, since it was possible for these countries to reject this policy and move completely toward China and Russia, and then America would lose all its leverage in the Eurasian region in Central Asia. But what's strange is that in the end, he won the bet. I mean, today, payment is not just for protection anymore, but even for America to be a balancing point in a certain region. You have to pay. You want to take a picture with Trump. You have to pay because this policy, this Trumpian philosophy, is now officially adopted by Trump. I mean, in almost every region of the world. This raises a very strong question today about whether we might soon see the same scenario in the Moroccan region or in the Middle East. Because after we saw the Gulf countries paying hundreds of millions of dollars, I mean as deals, investments and so on, after we saw Japan, South Korea and many other countries in the region paying the same thing, after we saw Europe also paying, today these developing and weak countries in Central Asia are also paying. So is it really normal to see this same policy moving to the Maghreb region? You mean between Morocco and Algeria? Will there be deals about the Moroccan Sahara? Will we see a deal on rare natural minerals? Will we see other deals between Trump and Algeria? So what will the next scenario be like? comment below and subscribe by hitting the like button. Peace be upon you and God's mercy and blessings. See you next time.